Hi, I'm Abbie Trayler Smith and I'm a documentary and portrait photographer. My work is about intimacy, emotional connection, and touches on social issues both at home and internationally. My career began in newspapers, and since leaving to become freelance, I work for magazines and charities and commercial clients, creating campaigns and stories, as well as working on my own long-term projects. Um, An emotional response and engagement with the people I photograph is key, and I try to embrace the personal and private aspects of people's lives because I'm driven by a desire to get under the skin and straight to the heart of the issues that we all strive to deal with. Photography has always been a way for me to navigate the world around me, and for over 20 years now, my practice has helped me translate life and ultimately understand myself. And I've learned the importance and necessity of truly committing to your subject, of being vulnerable, being curious, and being available. The work key to this is my 10-year study into teenage obesity, the Big O, through which I've met dozens of incredible teenagers who've had the courage to allow me into their lives. I was a fat teenager, and that shadow has followed me throughout my life. Even if you manage to lose the weight, the psychology of being fat stays with you, along with the stretch marks. So with this work, I'm trying to challenge what it means to be fat. Even the word has become political, but it's also really important to me to be honest, which means examining the impact that obesity is having on society. It's a huge subject. There are 124 million kids under 18 living with obesity, and by 2030, it will be the single biggest killer on our planet. And I believe how we talk about it really matters because it affects how we all feel about the issue and the people involved. So The Big O is a story about growing up and feeling like you don't fit in. And the extraordinary, ordinary lives of these kids is something that we can all relate to, fat or thin. It's their story, but it could just as easily be my story or maybe yours. Images from this series have won awards in some of the most respected photographic contests, and prints reside in major collections, including the National Library of Wales, which is a huge honour. I think it's really important that the work of those born and raised in Wales is included in such a collection so that future generations can see and feel how it is to live in today's world and the perspectives of those from this land. I think it's really interesting to look at our world from both an insider and outsider perspective. So the other piece that the National Library of Wales owns is that from the outsider perspective, my image fleeing Mosul from the series After Darkness, which was made in Iraq. I wouldn't say I'm drawn to war zones, but I am drawn to the extremes of human experiences, whether it be people suffering mental issues here at home or those living under terrorism abroad, as I believe this is where we truly learn who we are and what we're capable of. The motivation for this work, After Darkness, was to look at those who'd lived under terrorism, those who had survived, adapted to the horror around them, and chosen to live. After a 9-month battle, ISIS was expelled from Mosul in early 2017, leaving destruction and devastation in its wake. Homes lay in ruins, and the residents were bearing the physical and psychological scars of war. But the spirit of human resilience and strength lives on, and we see this time and time again in many circumstances. And often you see it in the eyes, that defiance, that will to live, and that's what I wanted to capture. So Sarah, in this image fleeing Mosul, had been bussed straight from the battle in Mosul, and she's shown here as she arrives at Hassan Sham refugee camp in northern Iraq. And I saw her as soon as the bus pulled into the camp, and the look on her face summed up to me the global uncertainty that seemed to be everywhere at that time, and indeed now more than ever. So my hope with this work, and all my work, I suppose, is to enable the viewer to feel emotion, to feel empathy, to feel what it's like to be the person in that picture, and through that gain a greater understanding of the world. And for for future generations to be able to see this, for my work to be part of an archive, means this humanity I'm creating in my work will be available for others in the future. And to me, that's huge. When I started out as a photographer, there were hardly any women doing what I do. And now, thankfully, there are many more. And I think there are as many women as men taking photography courses these days. But when it comes to publication, we see that women are at a disadvantage. Women voices have only in my adult lifetime started to become as relevant as men's, which is crazy because all our voices are crucial to help understand what's going on and where we should be headed for the future. And women artists still play a much quieter role than men's on the global stage. Why is this? So is it important for me to be part of this collection and for my work to form part of history for the future? Yes. It's very exciting and humbling and oh so necessary. And with it being Women's History Month, I just wanted to end with a quote that was brought to my attention recently by a fellow photographer and friend of mine, Sean Davey. And it's a quote by Bell Hooks, who's a brilliant author. And she says, "Imagine living in a world where there is no domination, where females and males are not alike or even always equal, but where a vision of mutuality, is the ethos shaping our interaction. Imagine living in a world where we can all be who we are, a world of peace and possibility. Feminist revolution alone will not create such a world. We need to end racism, class elitism, imperialism. But it will make it possible for us to be fully self-actualized females and males, able to create beloved community, to live together, realizing our dreams of freedom and justice, living the truth that we are all created equal. Come closer, see how feminism can touch and change your life and all our lives. Come closer and know firsthand what the feminist movement is all about. Come closer and you will see that feminism is for everybody." So for me, that's kind of sums up what Women's History Month is about, and why women's voices, as all our voices, are crucial to be preserved for future generations. Thanks for listening.